Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. This is Dayal Gurunga. I'm here with the Chuta Gopi and Kishore Chandra for Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center podcast. Daily starting from today, not the last 2 weeks or so. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus with some of us traveling and Saturn returns going on and Mercury's in retrograde, right? Or maybe that's
Almost,
not
not yet. Not
almost. It's always it kind of feels like it's always in retrograde and stars shifting and seasons shifting and somehow we were just on a break, but we're back and we're really glad to be back with you guys. How you doing, Kishore? How you doing, Achuta?
I am very happy to be here.
That was a
And
rehearsed statement. He's reading from a teleprompter.
full disclosure, I just woke up like 20 minutes ago. It's been a really beautiful, jam-packed past 4 days of celebration. One of our very dear friends just got married. And so it's been really, really beautiful. Honestly, I don't know how you do it at Chuta because I was like at home on my couch seeing the live that the kirtan was still going on. I was like, how's Chuta gonna do this? Like, how am I gonna do this? I'm here on the couch. So how are you at Chuta? That's what I really want.
I'm good. I feel like I still am not sure what time zone, country, season I am in, but we are here and I'm super happy about it. That's all that matters. We're here.
You guys made it. I got a message from Kishore 1215, but Chuta was still in Kirtan somewhere. Um, we one of the things we've been wanting to do a little bit that we haven't gotten into is we wanted to start reading books on this podcast, either reading through the Gita or Shastra, or even bringing other books to sort of frame and guide our discussions and bring some commentary that we would have and we haven't selected anything for this week. And so till then we're freestyling it. And I wanted to know I mean I had some questions on my mind. Um, but before we get there, I wanted to check in with you guys if there was something on your mind that you felt like we needed to talk about or get into. Otherwise, I got a question.
Well, I want to know how India and Achyuta
That was
was.
my question. That was my
That's
question.
that's the question. That's why I came today. No, I mean I came today to be with all of you, but I was like, I woke up at 20 minutes before 9 and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask Achyuta what she did in India and I'm just gonna listen the whole time. So I'll show up. I'll be there.
Ooh, okay. Um, however, however magical I would have hoped Vrindavan would have been, it was like 4 million times more magical than that. My friends were asking me all the way, like all along the way, they're like, okay, your expectations, is it like meeting or I was like, no. This is far exceeding. So far exceeding. I had been to Mumbai a few times and the Mumbai scene is gorgeous and different. Vrindavan can be a lot of like mayhem, but because I'm from New York, I like a little bit of mayhem. And I'm also a person who likes to like do their own thing. Like I'm gonna do the stuff, but I'm always gonna kind of like do it my own way, which is weirdly stubborn of me. And Vrindavan is a place where you can just like kind of like do your own thing at all times, and I loved it so much. And practical differences like Mumbai. When you get to even Chowpatty Temple in Mumbai for morning prayers at like 4 in the morning, everybody's kind of like dancing and swaying the same way, which can feel a little culty, but it's everybody's like all moving in the same direction. And I remember when me and my sister-in-law went, we kind of just looked at each other and started intentionally going the opposite direction.
They did a handstand. They were dancing on their hands.
And it was just like really simple, some things like dancing in the opposite direction. Everybody was just kind of looking at us like, who are you people and why have you not fallen in line? Vrindavan is the complete opposite. Everybody's doing everything at all times, and it was really really freeing to be in that space and to be able to just kind of like throw your hands up and sing at the top of your lungs at all times, at any time, and really kind of give your heart at every moment. And that was my meditation when I was going. I was reading a quote, and Srila Prabhupada said, one of the distinguishing characteristics of the spiritual world is that because they don't waste time, there's no sense of past, present, or future. Every moment is completely present and filled. And that was my meditation. I kind of felt like if I could just not waste any time while I'm here. If I'm in Kirtan, be in it. If I'm at a holy pilgrimage place, be in it. And I feel like with that meditation, it changed my perspective. I wasn't really worried about the heat, even though I probably should have been more concerned about the heat. I wasn't really worried about the heat. I wasn't really worried about all the other living entities, because all living entities are going to be interested in you. And I think that the four-legged living entities are like just as interested in you as the two-legged living entities. And that's always really nice and fun. Cows wanted to adopt me everywhere I went. And that sounds like a joke, but that's actually was real. They would leave my friends and come find me and then stick their heads in my lap or like my armpit or something. But all their heads are as big as my body. So that was
And then you're flying back home and they ask those questions like, have you been in contact with any livestock or animals?
I was like, no, I haven't. There's like a billion hugging calves.
Meanwhile, like your luggage is mooing. No, that's just an app.
Yeah. Yeah, there were so many little calves that I was just like, you could fit in my overhead bin. Come home. Just come with me. So it was really, really sweet. Definitely something to take advantage of. Definitely something to sign up for, September 25th to October 8th.
We're going into together. That's right. The three of us.
Definitely something to sign up for, please. It's going to be really good.
I have a question for you, Chuta, if I'm not cutting you off with other things you wanted to share, but I wanted to sort of ask you about, and this is an open discussion for the table. I'm not going to put you on the spot or asking your age, but you're in your 30s. We're all in our 30s here, the three of us somewhere. I'm 37. Kishore's 1 year younger than me, and Achuta's in there somewhere.
I'll be 37 on Saturday.
You're going to be 37 on Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What's the 36, 37 club?
Excuse me, I'm the youngest. I'm 33. Actually, let's not forget.
Oh no, you're not a year younger than me. Yeah, you're the exact age as my wife. You're 4 years younger than me. God, I got that so wrong. Kishore's the youngest. You're the middle child. Tuesday. I'm sorry, and I'm the grown up. I have to be the grown up, which is very concerning. Very concerning. Achuta's like, you don't waste a single moment in Vrindavan. I'm sending her like Kardashian memes, while she's in Vrindavan. She's like, I'm trying to have a spiritual experience. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to send those while you're in Vrindavan. Just wait till we get back. But no, so you're going to be 37 this year. And this is your first time in Vrindavan, right?
Yeah.
It's your first time in Vrindavan. So Vrindavan, for those of us listening, if you're joining new to the podcast, Vrindavan is a very special place in India that is dear to the heart of Bhakti yogis, specifically those devoted to Krishna. It's the hometown of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who is revered as the Lord of sweetness and beauty in Vedic culture. And so Vrindavan's a very special place. Many of us take pilgrimages there every year. I've been leading groups the last several years. Kishore's been there a number of times. We're leading a group again this fall. Again, plug for those that want to come. It's filling up. That trip is going to fill for sure. And you've been born and raised in the Krishna movement. You've been chanting Krishna's names and Krishna kirtan and songs since the womb. You've been singing about Vrindavan, knowing about Vrindavan. Probably so many of your family and friends have gone there so many times. And this is your first time. And so I wanted to talk a little bit ask you a little bit about timing and patience, Because sometimes I think that when we're in spiritual life, we kind of feel that everything needs to operate at a certain timeline. Or I think there's material spiritually, what did also materially it happens. I think a lot of us sometimes fall into this place of feeling behind. Like I'm not where I'm supposed to be at. I'm not having the experiences I'm supposed to have yet. And we can sometimes look left and look right and think everyone else seems to be kind of like catapulting forward in spiritual life before me, or everyone else is doing all the things before me. Everyone's been here, been there, done this, done that. Or even sometimes when we go to a spiritual place, like a holy place of pilgrimage, like Vrindavan, sometimes we can go in a group. I had this experience the first time I ever went to India. I was 19 and it was 2004, and everyone around me, it seems like they're about to combust in spiritual bliss, and I'm like, am I missing something here? Am I not eating enough gulab jamins or something? Like, what is there something that's not, gulab jamins are a little sweet. It's not LSD or a mushroom, everybody. He's not eating enough of the magic mushrooms to have his experience. No, it's a little sugary sweet.
If you eat
And
enough of them, you do feel like there's
if you
something.
need enough of them, you do
Yeah,
feel, yeah.
I was about to say this last India trip, that's what did it for me.
Somebody once called me, said, "You're like a gulab jamun. You're very sweet to start, but if you have too many, you get sick."
Did they say that
That-
whole thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, Krishna.
But it
And he
was,
never spoke to them again.
Yeah.
Or at least I wouldn't.
um, but even you go to India and you're looking to your left and your right, and everyone seems to be like, "Oh my gosh, the pinnacle of their spiritual life," and I'm like, okay, this is a cool place. It's a place, you know what I mean? You're like exceeding expectations 4 million times. And everyone's like, when I get to Vrindavan, I'm like, when is it going to exceed my expectation 4 million times? And we don't realize that we're on a journey. And sometimes, our time for our low moments and our high moments, and sometimes certain experiences get withheld from us for a period of time to increase our hankering, or to bring us to a certain place. And so to compare our journey to other people's gift, and Krishna even mentioned it multiple times in the Gita, that to compare your path to others or to walk on others' path can be dangerous. And so for you as somebody, when I heard that you hadn't been to really India before, or Vrindavan before, I was surprised. I was like, wow, she hasn't been before. You carry such a mood of Vrindavan in your heart. So I'm just curious if we can speak a little bit about timing and patience in spiritual life, and the idea of missing out, or that we're not really ever missing out, because what's meant for us is here, and we can still carry a mood of Vrindavan in our heart, even if we haven't been there physically. And even when we go there physically, we may not experience Vrindavan if we're not in the right mindset. But if we're carrying that mood, then when we get there eventually, long ahead in our life, it'll have a powerful experience. And that's not a specific question, but I just want to kind of to bring all of that up as a discussion point, because I know myself and a lot of us listening might be in those places of thinking, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or I should be, or they're having an amazing experience. And just, if you wanted to, either of you guys, Chuta, obviously you just had that
It
experience, but
was.
I wanted to open that up.
Oh, it was so hard, really torturous. I I feel like I was brokenhearted about it like 12, 15 years ago. And then you hear the, I guess, what I'm gonna say, well-meaning, because if they're not well-meaning, then I'm with Kishore and I'm never speak to them again. You hear like the well-meaning comments, and people can be like, well, you can't really buy a ticket to Vrindavan. And I'm like, huh? What'd you just say to me? Like, is that supposed to help me feel less brokenhearted about the fact that I wasn't able to get there yet?
If you haven't been to
Um,
Vrindavan, means Radharani hasn't called you forward.
okay. Yeah. Like, these are the comments. It's like, well, it's whenever Srimati wants. And I was like, you know what? We're going to fight. Say it to me one more time. We're going to fight. Um, and so, you hear all of these things, and I guess they're supposed to be well-meaning, or people don't know what to say, and so then that's what comes out. But it is torturous, as a person who is forced to be patient. But I was a premature baby. I don't really consider myself a very patient person. I can bide my time. I can be really intentional. I don't necessarily see myself as a patient person. So this long sojourn has been something. It's been a desire since I was like 8 or 9. And then my parents were always the responsible ones. So if you see like second generation Krishna kids, their devotee parents have usually moved around like 8, 10, 12 times by the time they're 9, right? They've lived everywhere and they are citizens of the world. They belong to the universe. Like that's it. And me, I'm like, I've grown up in the same place. My parents have not moved. They've been in this house that they're in all of the like post 50 years of their marriage. They've been married for over 50 years. They've lived in that same house. They've been in that same place. We've all been in New York. And so even when we talk about like heritage, people are like, where are you from? I'm like, New York. They're like, but where's your parents from? I'm like, New York. They're like, I'm telling you, we are literally all from New York. That is it. Um, so for me, it was really hard because I didn't feel like a New Yorker. You always have this balancing, straddling act of where do you fall? I grew up with Vaishnav culture. Even before my parents were like, okay, you're an African American, I was a Vaishnav first. And everything else was secondary because they were really dead set on reminding me Krishna is your person. Krishna culture is your culture, first and foremost. And then I went to regular public school where I had to like have these dual lives. And so then you're always having these dual lives, but you never necessarily feel in either one of them. And my brother and my sister-in-law went to Vrindavan, and I guess that was 05, 06, something like that. And I was kind of beside myself. And I happened to have been reading different sacred literature the entire time because that's what I did in my free time. And they would call every day and they're like, we just went to this place. What does that mean? And somehow or other it would sync up. I had just been reading about that place and they'd call the next day like, we just went to so and so. What does that mean? So this time when I actually went to Vrindavan, first of all, to walk in and be greeted with everyone with a welcome home, I was kind of always constantly in tears a little bit because it really did feel like home. It's like the one place where there was not an ounce of me that felt outside or weird or having to straddle two different worlds. I was able just to be, and that was the most really homecoming feeling ever. And so honestly, living everywhere else has always kind of felt like, all right, now I have to be so and so, and now I can just be me. And in Vrindavan, I was always just me. And so when we went to different places, a lot of my friends were asking, they're like, oh, who'd you go with? And I was like, well, I went with one of my friends who's really good with showing people around. And they're like, yeah, but like, who was telling all the pastimes? I was like, do you know who I am? Like,
I was.
I was telling all the pastimes. It was me. I did the things. And so, yet another plug for the fall. I've got loads of stories lined up.
We need that so much. I mean, Kishore and I've been to Vrindavan a lot. And we don't know all. Sometimes we get to a place and we're like, are you going to tell the story? No, no, you tell the story. It's like, I know a little bit of the story. And it's like, who's going to tell the story?
I've got
Now we got
loads
to
of them lined up. I've got loads of stories for Jaipur. I've got loads of things lined up, not just for even Vrindavan, but I think we're gonna take a really nice journey, kind of with Mirabai, like a female saint. We're gonna kind of go with her as she journeys onward. She actually goes to Jaipur. She's in the Rajasthan area. She was a Rajasthani princess. She kind of journeys onward into Vrindavan. So we're gonna take that journey with her, and we're gonna experience and see how we flow with it. So yes, please come. It's going to be really exciting. I felt like this was like a precursor trip to the fall one where I got to like suss out everything and get all the good things for everybody to look out
It
for.
was a scouting mission.
Yeah, it really was. It was kind of like, okay, scouting mission. And I feel like I got to do some really, really awesome things for my friends. I got Janavi some really special sindoor from the place where Radharani was a bride. I was able to get some really, really cool things. Pasha and Lane sent a really nice like donation. And with that donation, we fed 50 cows. Like it was really sweet. So it was really, really nice to be able to get to do that. And so when we're there, let me know if you want to send something in. We'll sponsor garlands for deities. We'll feed villages. We'll do some really awesome things for all of you while we're there. But
Mm.
yes, it was torturous and really, really heartbreaking. And then even when I got there, you have those friends where they're just people who have a very salty disposition. And to Krishna's credit, there's room for everybody in Krishna's home, because you even get the people and you're like, it's your first time here? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, what took you so long? Americans always have excuses. And I was like, whoa, I'm gonna move back over to my cow friends. See you later. Like, I'm not gonna commit offenses in the Dom, but I will go back and talk to my cow friends. But yeah, it's just there are just gonna be people everywhere. But Vrindavan is gonna be gorgeous. I think Jaipur is gonna be really, really gorgeous.
Mm.
There are loads of heroic stories and things that happen in Jaipur. So I cannot wait to experience all of this with all of you.
Mm. And we're going to have two separate lines. We're going to have the regular people and the salty dispositioners.
Yeah.
I'm going to take those on one journey in a separate camp. We're going to stay in a separate hotel, and Kishore and Achyuta are going to go on with the normals. Kishore, I want to hear from you. We're already kind of close to time. We took it was a beautiful just kind of coming back home together. But you've been to Vrindavan a couple times. You've also had your own spiritual experiences. You're always keeping it real. I just want to hear what's floating through your mind and your heart.
Yeah, I was so happy to just listen, partly because I was still waking up, but
Could you repeat that, Achyuta? I'm really sorry. I just had my coffee. I'm awake now.
I am awake now. But I really love this idea that Achyuta was speaking about, the idea of home, and how when she arrived there, everyone was like, welcome home. And this idea of perhaps in New York, not necessarily feeling at home. And I think it's such an interesting predicament that I think so many of us find ourselves in, especially when you're raised in a country that is a melting pot, or a city like New York that is a melting pot, like just from a material, cultural, whatever, physical body level. I also grew up in that way, being told like this. I was brought up in a way where my parents constantly, I was telling someone this at the wedding yesterday, 2 days ago, my parents were constantly like, this is not your home. Like New York City is not your home. And I was like, okay, but I'm here. Like it was very confusing. And it was so interesting because my parents were coming to it from a cultural perspective. They're from Ecuador, and they were like, "This is your home." And I remember the first time I went to Ecuador, I wasn't like feeling like this was my home. I went and I was like, "Okay, I speak the language, but it still doesn't feel like my
Can
home."
we go home now?
Yeah, but then also in New York, like I also never really felt like New York was my home. And that feeling of home, or that feeling of truly belonging, and maybe this is something we can talk more about tomorrow, I think is really when we start to look at things beyond just like, my nationality and my country and my race and my, whatever, all this stuff. And it's really going beyond that into the level of spirit, and the level of the soul, and the level of love. And I know that sounds like, maybe like, oh, but it's really, really true, because I think that when you go to these holy places, when you go to Vrindavan, when you go to places where like really the focus and the depth of relationship with something beyond you and a higher power is so present, it's so clear. It's really like you can't explain it in words. It's one of those things that you just have to go and you just have to feel it for yourself. Because I remember also, like, when I first went to India, I was like, this feels very, when I first went to Vrindavan, actually, because when I lived in India before, when I was 21 for about a year, but when I first went to Vrindavan, that's when I started to really feel like a big shift in my heart of like, whoa, okay, like this feels very different. This feels very real. And I think it's really interesting, and there's so many verses that can speak to that, and so much in our philosophy that can speak to that, but I know we're coming up against time. But just maybe we can start with this tomorrow, just this idea of home, or like not feeling at home where we're at, maybe not feeling at home in our cities or in our particular situation. And it's interesting because I think that can be taken in two different ways, right? Like one, and we've spoken about this so much in the podcast, like one, it's like, I got to get out of here, I got to get out of this material world, screw this place, bye, I'm going to Vrindavan. And like people do that, you know, they're like, I'm going to Vrindavan, I'm never coming back. It's like, okay. And another thing is like, how do I, you know, and I really, really look up to you, Achyuta, in this. It's like, how do I maintain that mood of the spiritual world, that mood of Vrindavan, even though I'm here, even though I'm in this place that doesn't feel like home, doesn't feel like I belong here, even though I was raised here, you know, whatever, but I can still maintain that mood of Vrindavan. I can still be so full of like love and enthusiasm, you know, like just to go back to the kirtan. I always see Achyuta and her family like staying till like who knows what time. I was saying bye to Jahnavi last night. I was like, I have no idea when this is going to end. She was like, I have no idea either. I was
That
like,
was my opening announcement. My opening announcement was like, I have no idea when this
it
is
was.
going to end.
And it's like that, that level of love and enthusiasm, I feel like is possible when you're connected to something deeper, you know, when you're connected to that feeling of a spiritual home, you know, and that's our motto at the Bhakti Center. We're your spiritual home.
Hmm. If you haven't read Radhanath Swami's book, The Journey Home, please pick up a copy soon. And I love that idea. You know, the whole idea of it was the journey home. And I think that it was Richard Rohr who said something to the effect that our homesickness is our compass. That there's an idea, and it may have been, I may have been mixing authors, but I believe it was also C.S. Lewis who mentioned, if my yearnings are for something that this world never seems able to provide, then maybe I belong somewhere beyond this world. And so, and Richard Rohr kind of furthered that thought with the idea that our homesickness is our true compass, the idea that we're all searching for home, this idea of belonging, not materially, but on a spiritual level. And it behooves us to follow that. And I think that so much of what we see in the material world is a searching for that, in places that aren't designed to satisfy that need, and it leads to more problems. And so, um, yeah, it's a real. I'd love to continue that conversation, because I think it also is a very beautiful unifying principle when we realize how much we're all searching for the same thing. As different as we all may seem, as different as our approaches may be to try to satisfy that yearning, it's the same yearning within all of us to find home, to be, and the Vedic literatures, the path of bhakti is a path home. It ultimately culminates not in intellectual understanding, but in love, very much in terms of finding a satisfaction of the heart, and therefore we find people like Krishna, who's the Lord of Beauty and the Lord of Song and the Lord of Poetry, and the highest Vedic literatures. They're not essays; they're poems. They're songs. You know, the Bhagavad Gita is the song of God. It's a meter. It's poetic. And so, thank you for bringing that mood. Thank you for creating this little space here for us. We hope that this little podcast is a home for you guys. I was so happy and inspired. Our full live crew showed up. I was wondering, like, no one's going to be here. We've been on and off like multiple times in our break. People have showed up and we haven't been here because we didn't communicate that we're still on break. And so they're like, we're just going to show up every day, and one day they're going to be here. And so we have our full live, about a dozen plus people that are here. We're going to turn it over to Kimberly in a second. She's going to read any takeaways. And if anybody has any takeaways they want to share, like a phrase, a caption, something that they want to share, put it in the chat and we'll read it also. Martha says, it's so beautiful to hear you guys share your sweet experiences over time. You come back from India. I am, quote, patiently waiting for my time to come. I know it will happen. I will turn 63 in 3 weeks, and I'm certain part of my journey will take me to that sacred place. Martha, we love you, and we know you're going to be there. We don't know this, but we've already bought your ticket for this fall. We will send that to you via email. Vidya said, I love the Journey Home book more than my life. It really changed me internally. Richie Bennis sent a question box emoji because I can't read it on my computer system.
He gave you heart.
It's a heart. It's a heart. It's a heart. Sydney said, we're sad when you all aren't here. Richie said, haha, it's a heart. And then Sydney sent a question box emoji that I can't read, which I will assume is a heart.
Doyle, if you don't update your device.
You got to update. You got to update.
I don't have enough space on my disk. Somehow it's I gotta delete all those Kardashian memes. It's taking up space. Kimberly, you got any takeaways for us? We want to hear. Please don't send it in emojis. Just say it.
Yeah, I have some takeaways today. So I have be in the moment and fill it with presence. We are all on our own unique journeys. Don't compare your story to others. And we're all searching for home and belonging. Our homesickness can be our guide and true compass.
I love that. I'm gonna find that. Maybe Falling Upward can be one of our book club reads. Any takeaways, Achyuta and Kishore? A takeaway word or thought? What do you want? What are you walking with?
Maybe, because we keep like running around this whole book club thing. Maybe we need to start with the journey home.
Oh.
Okay, like maybe we need to do our guru pranam. Like start with the. Okay, just saying. That would make me happy.
I concur.
Okay, well, my opinion doesn't matter because I'm already outvoted. It's like I grew up in California, and like when elections would come, by the time that like Californians would vote, it didn't matter. It's already decided. But you still cast your vote because from the East Coast forward to the time zone. Beautiful thing. I will concur. Kishore, what are you walking away with?
I think I'm just walking away with, and again, we'll talk about it more, just this idea of home. Yesterday, we were at Harinam, or we were chanting Kirtan in the park at Washington Square. And it felt like home. It felt like home, just being out in Washington Square. And it wasn't about the location. It wasn't about New York City. It was about all the beautiful souls coming together and just chanting together and sharing their hearts together. And it was really, really special. And that experience was like very, very beautiful. And so I'm interested to just speak more about the idea of home, the feeling of home.
I'm walking away with that idea of finding home, and in my own life, there are so many things I think I'm searching for and that I need or that need to fall into place, or when something doesn't go my way, it creates anxiety or FOMO or left out, whatever it may be, and realize that I'm actually just looking for home, and that whatever I'm looking for, whatever I think I'm looking for externally is just my my projection of thinking that will provide that for me, and being able to let things go by accepting that they're not as important as I thought they were, because what I'm really looking for is just a feeling of home, and I could find that without that thing. It's just that I somehow unconsciously thought that would give it that's what home is. And so for me to redefine what home really means, and be able to let go of the things that I thought I had to have in order to feel home, but I don't, allowing that to kind of bring a little more peace and acceptance into my life. So thank you guys for that so much. Thank you guys all for tuning in, listening. Thank you for our live audience who's always dutifully supporting us and loving us on Zoom. We love you. Thank you for all of those who are listening out there in podcast land, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you guys all so much. We're back on track. We'll be here every day. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same time, same place. We're live from New York, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. every day, or tune in whenever you want to find your recording. Thank you. Be well. Take care. Tell somebody that you love them, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.